Good morning, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. I'd like to call the McLeod County Board of Commissioners to order on May 5th, 2026. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, good morning, everyone. And for those that don't know, we just got done swearing in our new commissioner for District 5, Tom Dahl, and I guess that's just, I don't believe the cameras were on, so welcome, Tom. Consideration of agenda items. Any changes or additions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
could we remove item 8A for further consideration before it comes to the board, please? It's under Health and Human Services. Consider approving the bylaws of the McLeod County Mental Health Local Advisory Committee.
Again, that's 8A, and it's going to be pulled for further consideration.
Or I should say review, please.
Review is fine.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
On the minutes, can we have them pulled so I can abstain?
All right. Whatever wishes of the rest of the board. I've never really done that before. We just pull the minutes and vote on them separately. I guess what I'd sooner do is just do a roll call, and then you can abstain at that time.
Just so I go officially abstain.
All right. All right. So are there any other corrections or additions?
No other changes, Mr. Chair.
So, Mr. Chair, I will move that we approve agenda as presented with the removal of item as mentioned by the administrator.
Very well. Again, with the request for abstention, we'll do a roll call vote.
You need a second.
Oh, is there a
I'll
second?
second.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry to correct you. However, I think that Commissioner Dahl is looking to abstain from the consent agenda, not the agenda items. So
Very
you can
well.
go ahead with
Maybe what you abstained from.
All right, is there a second to the agenda items?
I'll second the agenda.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda.
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Chatska. Any discussion there? I believe, I'm just not exactly sure. Attorney Hench, you can help me with this, but I think, can we just announce that he's abstaining from this vote on because of the minutes? Or how do we, is that fair enough?
Well, if he's abstaining, I mean, he'll be abstaining from the entire consent agenda, and
Yep.
that should, I mean,
And that's
we'll
fine.
still have a quorum, so as long as Mr. Dahl's fine with that, then announcing that's fine.
It's
And-
just for transparency. I mean,
Right.
other than that, it doesn't bother. There's no real legal thing there. So with that, Commissioner Dahl will be abstaining from this vote. Any more discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. All right, I'm gonna wear out the chair this morning, but that's all right, I guess. I have a couple proclamations to read this morning. They're to do with Mental Health Month. The first one, whereas mental health is an integral part of overall well-being and affects every aspect of a person's life, including their ability to live, work, and thrive within the communities. And whereas mental health conditions are common and affect individuals of all races and backgrounds, and estimated that 1 in 5 Americans experience a mental health condition in any given year. And whereas mental health conditions are often misunderstood or stigmatized, leading to barriers in seeking help and accessing appropriate care and support. And whereas raising awareness about mental health and promoting mental health wellness is essential in reducing stigma and encourage every invasion and fostering supportive communities. And whereas mental health is a key component of public health, and investing in mental health, promoting prevention and preventing and treatment improves the overall health and well-being of individuals, families, and communities. Whereas the observance of Mental Health Month provides opportunity to educate the public, raise awareness about mental health issues, and promote and the importance of mental wellness, resilience, and recovery. And whereas by recognizing May as Mental Health Month, we affirm our communities to support mental health advocacy, increasing access to mental health services, and create communities where the individuals can thrive. Now therefore, the chairman of the McLeod County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim that May 2026 is Mental Health Month in McLeod County. As the Board of Commissioners Chairman, I also call upon the residents, governing agencies, and public, private, institution, business, and schools in McLeod County to recommit our community to promote mental health awareness, fostering supportive environment, and advocating for accessible and equitable mental health care for all. That's the proclamation for Mental Health Month. And this isn't in the agenda, but I also, when I get a chance as a veteran, when I get a chance, I try to include that every day roughly 21 veterans commit suicide every day. And I just want people to keep that in mind. To me, that's a terrible, terrible loss for our country. Thank you for that. Now I have another proclamation for National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day. Whereas the mental health and well-being of children, youth, and youth adults is essential to overall development, success, and happiness. And whereas mental health challenges among children, youth, and young adults are prevent and can significantly impact their lives, families, schools, and communities. Whereas addressing mental health needs early can prevent more significant challenges later in life, contributing to healthier individuals and communities. Whereas May 7th, 2026 marks National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day, providing an opportunity to raise awareness about the importance of children's mental health and the need of accessible, comprehensive, and culturally responsive service and support. And whereas promoting positive mental health resilience and emotional well-being among children and adolescents requires collaboration among families, schools, mental health professionals, policymakers, and communities. And whereas Pact for Families, our families collaborative and like organizations recognize and address children's mental health needs to help ensure that all children, youth, young adults have the opportunity to thrive, reach their potential, and lead fulfilling lives. Now therefore, the chairman of the McLeod County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim May 7th, 2026 as National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day. We urge all residents to join us in raising awareness about children's mental health, promoting understanding and acceptance and support efforts to enhance the well-being of children, youth, and young adults in our community. Thank you. We're moving on to Section 5, County Auditor. And I believe we're going to, as Connie comes forward, we're going to just hold back a few minutes on the 12A, because of John Kolb is not able to join us for about, 10 minutes, 20 minutes?
Correct.
So we'll try to go through these other items first. So go ahead, Connie.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. Item B is to consider approving a license to permit large assemblies application by the Church of the Holy Trinity in Winstead, Minnesota for the 2026 Winstock Country Music Festival. James Mendoza, representing the Church of the Holy Trinity, requests approval of a license to permit large assemblies and a temporary liquor license for the 2026 Winstock Country Music Festival. The purpose is to raise funds to help support Holy Trinity schools in Winstead. Holy Trinity has an enrollment of approximately 110 students in grades preschool through 12th grade. This event is the major fundraiser supporting their annual budget. The assembly will begin at 9 a.m. on Thursday, June 18th, and it ends at 12 p.m. on Sunday, June 21st. The maximum number of persons anticipated attending is 20,999 each day. The maximum number of tickets to be issued, sold, or distributed is that same amount. The legal description is the northwest quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 15 in Township 117, north of Range 27 West in Winstead Township.
Now, is James here? Was that,
No.
okay, he's not here. Very well. Board's wishes?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
If I might, I'll say, I think, the Church of the Holy Trinity has been hosting Winstock for, I believe this might be their 31st year. And it's been an awesome event for the community of Winstead and also for McLeod County. I'm happy that they can continue with the event, and if you read through the board packet, you can see that what an awesome undertaking it is when they're referencing having the hospitals in Hutchinson, Glencoe, Buffalo, and Waconia on call, ready to serve as they need to for the event. The event is permitted, I believe, for like 21,000 attendees each day, so it's just an awesome event. And with that, Mr. Chair, I will move request as presented.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmalz to approve the permit. Is there a second?
I can second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Discussion? I'm glad you said that, Commissioner Schmalz, because I know it has grown, and to my knowledge, public safety has also grown with it, and I mean, it's one of the things that you deal with in there, but I agree that I know it's one of the only fundraisers for the school, plus I think it's good for McLeod County. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so along with that is item C, consider approving a 3-day temporary on-sale liquor license permit application for Winstock Country Music Festival for the event to be held June 18, 19, and 20, 2026 in Winstead, Minnesota.
I'll move that, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmalz and seconded by Commissioner Chatska. Is there any discussion? No, the days are correct. I know when I helped set up The agenda that was in question, the dates marked here on our agenda do match the license, is that correct, Connie?
Oh, sorry, pardon?
Number of days, 18, 19, 20th,
Correct.
very well. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. D,
Oh. Yeah, with that, I will move on to item D. So I wanted to review with the board and the public, actually, the summary of the special election for Commissioner District 5, which was held on April 14th, 2026. So like I said, today is a good day. We have a new commissioner and chips and salsa. Okay, a special election was required to be held to the vacancy occurring with more than 1 year remaining in the term of Commissioner District 5. Eligible voters resided within Acoma and Hutchinson Township and the city of Hutchinson P2. April 14th was the first available date for the special election in compliance with the state uniform election dates. The McLeod County Canvass Board met on April 15th to review the special election. The results were certified, winners declared, and abstracts signed. So the statistics, the registered voters at 7 a.m. were 4,820. We did not have any election day registrations. Election day ballots cast were 119. Accepted absentee ballots were 34. Accepted direct ballots was 1 for a total ballots cast of 154. The voter turnout in this election was 3.2%. So unfortunately, the McLeod County voter turnout was minimal, which may be explained by the possibility of one candidate ending his campaign before the end of the contest. And now that the election and the canvass and the contest period have ended, I will share some information that I could not while the election was happening, as it may have been perceived as influence or interference in the election. And this is my plea to eligible voters. If this happens again, please vote on election day. Your vote does count. To illustrate, I will share that in this case, if the candidate who received the most votes cast would not have accepted the certificate of election, that situation would have created another vacancy in the office, so a second vacancy. This time in the term, there would have been fewer than 1 year remaining. The steps to move forward would have been to wait until the contest period was over, present the vacancy to the office to the board, which would have been again during this board meeting, and the board would then have needed to hold a public hearing and follow the appointment process to the end of the term. It would not have been an automatic win for the other candidate. So again, your vote does count. I do want to thank all of the election personnel, the county, the city, and township election judges, the city of Hutchinson clerk, and especially my deputy auditor treasurer who did direct this election. Okay, so I do want to review the expenses of the special election for Commissioner District 5. And please note that these amounts do not include McLeod County, City of Hutchinson, or township staff time, election judges, or facility rental costs, which we all know that total would have been large. Publication costs, we still were required to publish a full-page ad. That was $687. Ballots and programming were $4,490. The assisted voting device, $758. Envelopes, we had to get new envelopes because there was legislative changes with the verbiage. That was $975 for a total of $6,910. So finally, considering the lower turnout of 3.2%, the final cost per voted ballot was $45 for each ballot. Again, that doesn't factor in the personnel time or the facility rent. So in comparison to maybe a state primary, which have lower turnouts, and let's say that primary had 10%, the final cost per voted ballot would have been $14. So there was quite a difference in the cost of this election. Any questions or comments?
Mike, I just have one comment. Connie, thanks for all the work you went through. I know it was time-consuming for our staff. But I just want to echo the importance of people getting out to vote. It doesn't matter what the election is, but I mean, people are becoming complacent and don't think their votes count, but they do, more than they know, but
Sure.
very well. How are we, does Mr. Cobb happen to call in yet, or?
Yes, he is. Could we take just a couple of minutes to get it all set up?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
I will not recess, but we'll go ahead and,
So with the public meeting, I believe the first thing on the agenda will be to have the presentation from Chris Otterness. So I will sit down and
and that process, Chris, or Connie, that will include the bids we received, is that correct?
yes,
Very
correct.
good. Boy, I think we should open here.
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, we need to open a public hearing on, as far as we now would become the ditch authority.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, this is just a public meeting.
Just a public meeting?
Not a public
I was
hearing.
just advised. Open the, okay, so we're still changing hats. So we'll open a public meeting. Is there a motion to do that?
So move.
Motion made by Commissioner Dahl and seconded by Commissioner Wright to open the public meeting on County Ditch 12A. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The public meeting is now open on County Ditch 12A. Chris, go ahead.
Chair Kruger, members of the board. Again, I'm Chris Otterness with Houston Engineering. I'm actually filling in today here for the project manager of this project, Lisa Olin. She is not able to be here, but she has kept me in touch on the project all the way through, and I've reviewed all the work products. So I'm familiar enough with the project, but certainly Lisa, again, is the project manager, the primary point of contact on this. So I'm going to go over a few things, next slide, a few things here today. The primary focus here is to go over the results of the bids that were received for repairs on County Ditch 12A. But I will go through some of the history on here, particularly with a new commissioner and with some folks here from the public that may not have seen all this information. Good to go through some of the background. So the beginning of this work on this drainage system really started about 3 years ago, back in 2023. We had a couple of different activities back then that kind of set off this process. The first of which was a historic review report and then a public hearing that followed, and this was to determine what the as-constructed condition of the drainage system was. Because the record was not complete, and we really needed to know before we could start doing any significant repair what the system is that we were dealing with and make sure that we were falling within the bounds of the drainage statute. Then in 2024, we had a couple more events that were more investigative. We had a report that we completed regarding the TC&W Railroad crossing, where we knew that there were deficiencies in the crossing at that location. We determined what the deficiencies were and provided some suggestions on how to deal with that. And then later on, toward the end of that year in 2024, we developed a draft repair report that covered a system-wide repair of the drainage system. And then last year, we had a couple of public engagements related to the drainage system. We had a public information meeting that talked about what the repair was proposed to be. And then we had a hearing that followed a couple months later where we received public comment to inform whether or not to move forward with the repairs. And then at that time, it was decided that the best thing would be to move forward with the repairs, or at least to receive bids for those repairs. Now you can see again, there's been a gap now of almost a year from that time period, and now we're actually receiving bids. And a lot of that was related to the railroad and engagement with the railroad on potential repairs, and I'll get into that a little more here in a bit. Next slide. So a little background on CD12A itself. Can you forward once more there? Actually, if you can go back, I'm not sure why that graphic wasn't showing up there. Okay. Well, what you would be seeing on this slide here is actually a graphic that shows a map of where the location of the drainage system is. In general, the downstream end begins in Glencoe Township, or outlets into the Buffalo Creek. The other upstream end of the ditch is in Sumter Township, where it starts with a private ditch. There's about 5.3 miles of open channel that constitute the main trunk of the drainage system, but there are also a couple of short laterals to the drainage system. Next slide. So there are a lot of deficiencies in this drainage system that we found out through our review. We did compare surveyed elevations of the ditch to that as-constructed grade we determined during that historic review. And we noted in our repair report that there were anywhere between 1 to 2 feet of sediment accumulation along the length of the ditch. This does decrease the hydraulic efficiency, along with a lot of other vegetation growth, deadfalls, and that sort of thing. Another thing that affects the efficiency are the culverts along the drainage. Several culverts, both private and publicly owned culverts, that are too high. And a lot of deterioration along the drainage system. Unfortunately, one of the photos that you can't see on here is a clog in one of the culverts where a large branch is actually jammed into one of the culverts there. The culverts, they again are deteriorated. They are at risk for failure into the future. Besides all of that, there is some bank sloughing in a few locations that does need to be repaired. That bank sloughing drops into the ditch and then creates more inefficiency of flow. And then there are some private tile outlets that are degraded that are causing erosion. And this is something that's been a chronic thing in a lot of McLeod County's ditches that we've worked at replacing. This definitely increases the longevity of the drainage system before it needs more repairs. Next slide. So a few of the components that we have of the repair, and this is the primary repair excluding the railroad crossing. We have proposed 5.7 miles of open channel excavation and vegetation removal. We've also recommended replacement of crossings. There are 7 of them that we're recommending replacement, and then removing one crossing in its entirety that is no longer being used. We were proposing bank repair along some of those sloughing banks, and up to 50 different outlet repairs, either private or public tile outlets that come into the system. That number may be changed as we go out and see how the conditions are once we get to a repair on the drainage system. And then finally, there are 4 different public crossings. These crossings generally are the responsibility of the road authority. cross them. There's one crossing that's in McLeod County, one in Sumter, and two in that we are recommending for replacement. Okay, next slide. So what will all this repair do for the landowners that benefit from the drainage system? Well, it will decrease the frequency of flooding and the duration of flooding on adjacent parcels. It will reduce the amount of stagnant water that's on. Stagnant water isn't necessarily a sign that the system is in disrepair, but it can be an indicator sometimes that it isn't operating as efficiently as it could be. There are, again, what I mentioned before, the sloughing banks, that they will be stabilized, so we'll have less erosion going on down into the ditch. And then we also identified that as part of the repair, no wetland impacts will result that would require mitigation. So it's one of those important things we need to look at as the environmental considerations of what we're doing and making sure that we're in compliance with applicable laws, including the State Wetland Conservation Act. So again, in this case, that will not be a problem. One of the things that we further looked at was the TC&W Railroad culvert. That culvert, it is currently in disrepair. Actually, there's 3 different culverts. There's a box culvert and a couple of steel pipe culverts that are under the crossing. That concrete box culvert, we have very little information on, although from what information we do have, it seems likely to have been constructed somewhere in the first half of the 20th century, which is quite a range, but again, that's all we have for information. But we do know that it's in disrepair. We have, lots of evidence of spalling, corroding, exposed rebar in that culvert. And then it also is significantly higher than the bottom of the ditch. With regard to the steel pipes that are out there, we have a little more information on them. One was constructed in 1966, another one added in 1985. Both those culverts are still above that as-constructed ditch bottom that we identified in our historic review. So because of the conditions that we saw out there, and knowing that the culverts are higher than the ditch bottom, we did look at a range of alternatives at this location, anywhere from do nothing to even looking at how that box culvert could be replaced. Because this culvert is owned by the TC&W Railroad, we have been engaged with them on how those culverts would be managed. We did notify the railroad that there were deteriorating conditions in this box culvert and the need for repair. The railroad has not, however, currently prioritized a repair of any of the culverts at this location. Next slide. So as we completed our review, we looked at several different alternatives, including open cutting the box culvert through the railroad. This actually was determined not to be financially feasible. If you could advance the next slide, please. The other alternatives we looked at that wouldn't require a closure of the railroad included boring culverts that were underneath this location at that original ditch bottom grade. We looked at a wide range of sizes of culverts, anywhere from 24 to 72 inch. Important to note that even adding these culverts, it does not fully address upstream surface flooding. There's still, even if we were to go as large as a 72-inch culvert at this location, there still would be flooding at the surface for various rainfall events. And very important to note that even regardless of what happens here at this crossing, the open channel repairs that we proposed in our repair report are still needed and still provide a value whether or not that ditch crossing of the railroad culvert is modified. So very important to note that our opinions on the open channel repairs do not change regardless of what happens at the railroad crossing. Next slide. So summarizing what we looked at in our report on the railroad culvert, we did note that there's a significant cost to any of these options of boring a culvert underneath the railroad, and that they do reduce peak water surface elevations to some degree, but the added efficiency isn't a large amount of added efficiency added by any one of these alternatives. And, you know, I guess the biggest bang for the buck that you could get out of a crossing here would be utilizing the smaller 24-inch culvert under here. It wouldn't be quite as much of an expense, and it does provide you some value. Next slide. So we did develop plans and specifications for this railroad crossing, and there were multiple attempts to coordinate with the railroad to receive a permit. However, there were challenges with that. If you can move to the next slide, please. One of these challenges was with insurance coverage. The policy of the TC&W Railroad and their permit dictates a very large coverage, $6 million. And, you know, the big kicker of that is that they require that coverage to be in perpetuity over the crossing. And we simply have not been able to find a provider that would be able to provide coverage like this. This is something that's very atypical. The cost of something like this, even if we were to be able to identify insurance that would cover this, would have to be passed on to the benefiting landowners. Representatives from the county are still working on this and are actively discussing with the railroad how we might be able to negotiate a feasible resolution to this, but you know, we have not been able so far to come to any sort of resolution or alternative means of meeting the railroad permit. But nonetheless, we did, to keep things moving forward, we'll work towards soliciting quotes to you know, find other insurance providers, and then we also move forward with getting quotes for the work itself under the railroad. Next slide. So I'll talk now next about the bids that we did receive for these two efforts. We did divide this up into two different bid packages, one for the open channel and culvert repairs excluding the railroad culvert, and then one separate bid package just for that railroad culvert. So for the open channel repairs, the bids were solicited via an electronic bid process that we use very frequently called Quest CDN. We were able to obtain 11 different plan holders with this process and received 5 different bids. We held those bids last week, and the engineer's estimate that we prepared ahead of time for all this for a base bid and 5 different alternatives. These alternatives were for completing the private and public culverts, and also completing work on the outlets into the drainage system. That engineer's estimate was roughly $750,000. When we got the bids back, the lowest bid for the base bid and all combination of those alternatives was $478,000, so quite a bit underneath our engineer's estimate. So we felt like that was a very good bid, and it was that low bid was from Rickert Excavating. We deemed them to be a responsive and responsible bidder because they did meet our requirements that we had listed in our spec, and we do have relevant project experience that we've worked with them on in Minnesota, multiple counties, including McLeod County, that where they've successfully completed the work. And all this is summarized in the memorandum that was provided here. regarding the recommended award for the repair work on the open channel. Here's a quick summary of the bids that were received on the next slide. Again, this includes work on that base bid, which for the most part was open channel excavation, and then each one of these alternatives that would could be selected from to be added onto that, depending on what the board feels is necessary and responsible for the work being completed. Some of these require additional engagement with the road authorities. I understand that the County Public Works Director has indicated that he is in favor of moving forward with alternative 3 for the McLeod County culvert. But certainly more input is needed from Glencoe Township and Sumter Township on what their preferences would be. Certainly they could wish to bid this work out themselves and complete it in a reasonable time, and we have information on that coming forward in the presentation as well. Then the other 2 items are more the judgment of the board on moving forward with private side inlets and private crossings and where the appropriate cost of that would go to. So I'll move on now from that over to the railroad boring project effort. So we likewise received bids for that on the same date on October 30th of last week. For that bid, we did have 6 plan holders and 3 bids that were received. Our estimate ahead of time was $337,000. The lowest bidder for this one was R&R Excavating at $239,127. They indicated in their bid that they would be utilizing 2 subcontractors, Plute Horizontal Boring and Corner Post Erosion Control. Based on the information that we looked at that was provided in the bid, R&R Excavating appears to be a responsive and responsible bidder and meets the minimum requirements, also considering the work that their subcontractors have done.
Mr. Chair? Question, Chris, maybe you're getting to it. What size boring was the bid applied to?
This bid was for the 24-inch boring.
Thank you.
And so this is a summary of the bids. Again, our estimate came in midway through the 3 bids that were received. Again, the lowest bid was substantially less than our engineer's estimate. All right. So for our recommendation, we do recommend that the Drainage Authority execute a contract with Rickard Excavating to complete the open channel and culvert repairs on the system other than that railroad culvert. In moving forward with that, we do recommend that you consider input from the township on whether or not their preference would be to have the work completed as part of the larger repair package, or if they would rather take that work on themselves in the coming years. With regard to the railroad culvert, we do recommend continuing to negotiate the insurance requirements with the railroad. And I'll note that according to our contract and spec requirements, the Drainage Authority does reserve the right to hold the bids for up to 60 days. If the insurance issue is not resolved from then we would recommend that you reject all bids for the repairs on the railroad. Otherwise, we would recommend that if that insurance issue is resolved, that you'd move forward with the low bid that was provided. One thing that's also important to note is that there are potentially some other options that landowners may utilize to receive relief upstream. if those bids need to be rejected. And some of those things could include a petition to either improve the drainage system or impound the drainage system to be able to get relief in various different ways. And that's something that can be discussed as people have ideas. That's all I have for the board. I can address any questions the board might have at this moment.
I have one. Yeah, Mr. Chair. The perpetuity that the railroad is seeking, would that apply to this boring or any activity that we may try to undertake in the railroad right-of-way?
Chris,
Commissioner-
I can take that question if you want me to, or at least with my opinion. And I did go see the railroad on my own, just as to put a face to everything here. And it was just last week that I did that. And again, I'm speaking for myself, but I pretty much told them that that was off the board. I mean, there was no way that in talking with our attorneys and attorneys before, you can't saddle a board in perpetuity for expenses. It just doesn't work. So that part's off the board. They were very receptive locally to what was going on. I can't speak for them, but the feeling that I have, they were very cordial. They hire a firm to do this. It's not like a division of the railroad that puts these restrictions onto these they hire somebody to do it. And I mean, without getting into the weeds too far, did I want to accuse, are they there just to block everything? I can't say that, but obviously, they were very receptive again to the local landowners, local economy, that we have to work together. I told them that it was kind of short time to make it for this meeting, but they kind of assured me that they would look into it and, try to get their own TC&W involved in that decision. Now, what happens, I obviously can't guarantee that. But it's the best I could do. What I was hearing pre-going up there was this insurance into perpetuity. Well, it doesn't. I'm not a lawyer. John's on and Ryan's sitting here. But I mean, you can't, to me, it just doesn't make any sense. You can't, you're basically hold what's there hostage as well. I mean, it just doesn't, I don't know how to explain it. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't know where it came from, but it's here. John, do you have any comments on that?
I can comment, Commissioner. You are correct in terms of this is beyond the local office, local folks. The vendor that they have that manages these, I don't know what I guess they would be called, like utility licenses. They really have no flexibility. They just do what they do. And I'm not sure kind of where they get their standards from or where they get their instructions from. So I think that part of your conversation, you're absolutely right. If there's to be a change in this, it would have to be done locally. But the insurance requirement, as I read it, would apply to the crossing and as you say, in perpetuity. And so we would typically buy insurance to cover our operations while we installed everything until it was installed and stabilized and maybe even accepted by the entity that, that we're crossing. But we would typically not have insurance going forward in perpetuity. And my concern about the way that the language is drafted and the actual policy that they want is that anything that happened at that crossing, even if it was their own box culvert that failed, they would then attribute to our manipulation, whatever that new manipulation was. And in this case, it's jacking another culvert under the box, but they would attribute that to us. And so we would basically be taking on responsibility via insurance for their crossing forever. And we have not been able to find a product or a an insurer that will provide us with that product going forward. So those are my concerns about the insurance. I just don't think we're going to get there unless the local folks say, hey, we're going to waive that requirement. You just need insurance for the installation. And then once we believe that the installation is complete and we can accept it, then we're free to go and the water's free to pass as it always has. But I just don't know when and how we get there, and certainly not on the timeline that we'd like to pursue for the installation of the repairs.
John, thank you. I didn't get a chance to talk to you much after I was up there, but that is, I guess I didn't have the 60-day goal until today, but I quite frankly told them that the perpetuity insurance was off the table. I mean, there was no sense if they couldn't do better than that. That was just something, because I don't want to speak for all the board, but that's been, we just can't enter, we can't strap anybody with costs down the road that it's an open-ended cost. They could raise rates every year. So, again, I can't guarantee anything. For me as an individual, I can work to expedite an answer in 60 days. But again, I sit up here in front of the board. It's your guys' watershed. So I guess we're going to have to just have that debate or discussion right now to see how we want to pursue this. I guess for me, I guess what I'd like to hear first is what the bids themselves work, how they came in, if that's a feasible amount of money to spend on the system or not. That's the most important part, I guess. I can't get any better. How many years has this been going on? And the railroad threw more roadblocks up. And again, I'm not gonna. The locals were pretty good, so that's our only chance, or the only chance I feel that may help us is if they step in. And I basically told them so. Any more questions from the board?
I do have one.
Go ahead.
Question for Mr. Otter, and it's on the bid preparation for the open channel cleaning. Just to hear the answer, the bid includes leveling the spoils, seeding, and replacement of any of the drop pipes.
Yeah, Commissioner Wright, that is correct. It includes all of that with the repair component.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess for now, on the construction part, is there questions from the landowners? I'd like to stay with the project if we could. Go, Larry? Larry Phillips? My question is... So wait, we'll get you a mic or else come up.
With the drainage attorney Colban line, he can't hear very well unless we use the microphone system.
Okay.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I guess my question is, how much is this going to end up costing per acre? You're saying 478,000, Chris? And then if we do the boring, we're talking 750,000. So break that down per acre for us.
Board of Commissioners, one important thing to note on here is that how the cost gets broken out depends on where you're going to allocate the cost and how you decide on that. I think on most of the recent system repairs that have been completed by the Drainage Authority on other drainage systems, the drainage system itself has paid for the cost of the base bid and the private side inlets, which would be alternative 1, and the private crossings, which is alternative 2. And so that combined cost of alternatives, the base bid and alternatives 1 and 2 is $374,000 roughly. So that would, if you go from that prior practice, that would be the cost that is allocated to the landowners. I apologize, I don't have the acreage of the drainage system on me right now to know what that would mean as a per acre cost. And I don't know if anybody else happens to know that number off the top of their head, but.
Even if you do have the per acre cost, it's really not feasible to divide it per acres because it depends on what their benefit is within the watershed. So it would be more accurate for landowners to actually look at their redetermination report that they had received and determine what your percentage is of the $100,000 and then go from there and multiply it out. If anyone certainly has questions about their own, we do have a sign-up sheet here that we can give you a call after the meeting or work with you on what your costs might be.
Yeah, that is a very good point, Connie. Yeah, because the amount of cost per acre varies drastically depending on how close you are to the drainage system and other factors that viewers look at.
Larry, or Mr. Phillips, do you have, I mean, you're used to doing this kind of thing, so, I mean, do you have we can't just divide the acres into the cost because it's benefited acres are gonna be a lot higher than, and some are gonna be a lot lower, so I mean, that's not a fair assessment of the project, but is there something more specific or? I know that we are in order and can order things, but I'm also prepared to try and get the figures out that are necessary, but I'd like to make sure that these numbers are accurate or a way to get the accurate numbers before the decision is made, because I've done as much work as I can do. And I mean, now it's your guys', it's the watershed's call on how to proceed. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but I kind of have to. I'm confident that I have a good feeling that the railroad may come back with just a standard insurance, but I can't guarantee that, at least not for today or maybe never. But they are looking at it, and I'll probe them a little bit to do that. But without you guys do have your maps from the redetermination, so you are able to run these numbers. And how do we want to proceed here? This is your watershed. You've heard pretty much the facts, and if you got some questions on what's going on, I'd appreciate you asking them. Because if we can get more numbers, we'll go digging for them. But you've got the gist of it, so I guess I personally would like to hear the overall thoughts of how we proceed. Bruce?
Just a couple of questions.
Just state your name, Bruce.
Bruce Bargman. With Rickards bid, the $478,000, was that for the complete ditch all the way from the creek up to the
I'm
headwater?
sorry, Mr. Bergman, can you please speak into the microphone so that Mr.
That,
Phillips can hear as well?
The bid from Rickard, $478,000, was that the complete clean out of the ditch from beginning to end? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, my opinion, I would say right now, alternative 2, being we don't know how this is going to work out with the railroad and stuff. I'm very hesitant to just go ahead with it, and let's hope that we can find insurance. And if we do find insurance, what is it going to cost? And if it's a perpetual insurance policy, if the box culvert does go bad, is the watershed going to be responsible for repairing that too?
No, listening to Mr. Kolb, just to my feeling, again, I'm only one of 5 people here, but my feeling is that that's off the table. And I basically told the railroad that we just can't do that.
Yeah.
We have to come up with a solution to do the we got the numbers on the boring. I said I wanted a solution or a permit that would let us do the 24-inch boring with, I don't want to say a standard, because I talked just like an everyday guy when I was in there, but to give us a permit that we were insured and gave out a qualified end or, to the actual boring, just that it was good, done, signed off, and we're done, that, just like a normal.
Normal
Right.
project.
And again, I'm one person, but I think that is part of what you guys can help us advise. Do you want to start moving forward with the cleanings and just hold back on the,
I guess,
on the boring? That is an option. I'm not done. I'll work my butt off to get anything done here, but I'm not going to advise, but right now, I'll keep working on the railroad to get, I said, if you're not going to do it, tell us that as well. If this is going to stand, and that's when I found out that they really have nothing to do with the railroad. They have to kind of bring it back, and they can make that decision, but we'll see what happens.
well, thanks for doing that, Doug, but I would say right now, not knowing how that's going to proceed, let's just wait with that till we know more about what's going to happen. We have more information. Let's go ahead and get the ditch cleaned, get the private crossings repaired to where the water will flow, and take it from there.
So, Mr. Chair, if I
Thanks, Bruce. Is there anyone else that would like to give their thoughts? Connie?
If I could just clarify for the people here, the screen that is up there currently, row 1, Rickard Excavating, is for the repair bids. It does not include anything for the railroad. So you're looking at the base bid, alternative 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Mr. Chair, I'd like a little bit of clarification too from Mr. Bergman. When you say option 2, do you just mean alternate number 2? You don't mean base? You don't mean alternate
number
1,
2.
3, 4? You don't mean any of that?
Alternate 2,
Just that one, no base bid or anything?
with the base bid, yes.
Okay, so base bid plus alternate 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Questions? I guess I'd like to hear from some upstream. I have talked to a couple of you guys, and I'm at a loss on what kind of a direction to take. I think it's probably important to start cleaning, but so I'd hate to just hold up on the whole thing. Have you guys got thoughts? Good morning, Mr. Youngklaus. Please state your name.
Hello, Brian Klaus. I pretty much agree with what Bruce stated, to move forward with it, but I just don't want the railroad to be, put on the back burner until we know that it's totally not an option of, like a perpetual.
Well, I won't leave it. The bids are only good for 60 days, so, I don't know how we're gonna get a notice to you or to whoever, but we'd have to, I'd work, my goal would be then to work with the railroad the best I can and get an answer before the bid date sunsets. John or Chris, do you have anything to add to that, or, is that a worthwhile goal or achievable goal?
I think you can most certainly play out the time you have that these bids have to remain valid. I think the question, though, really is, can you get started on any of it now? And let's just assume we can't get the railroad, that we can't get that additional culvert under the railroad for whatever reason. Are we going to do the rest of the project? And that's the rest of the repairs. And I think that's the big question here, because if you say that if we can't get the pipe under the railroad, we're not doing anything, that's one thing. But if we're just holding off on that one component and then proceeding forward with the rest, we just want to be very clear what action we're taking today. And you are welcome to reject bids, not award any component of this project. You have all of those options before you. But I think anything you can decide that you can go forward with today, you should go forward with today. And it sounds like the only thing that really we would have to leave on the table for a time while we try to figure out whether we can move it forward or not is the railroad crossing. And that's kind of my thoughts on it. So I'd like to see at the end of the day today that we have very clear guidance on what we're going forward with and what we're not, who we're awarding contracts to if we are at all, and then how we're going to proceed. And I know there are some additional coordination elements related to the township and county culverts that we may want to address as well while we're taking the time in this process.
Okay, very well said, and I don't know if you could hear all the comments that were made. That is, the couple we had, I think that's what they're thinking of doing, and I guess for us as a board, I'd like to hear that clearer too, because I guess if it's gone on long enough, if we could start the cleaning, if that's what we're gonna go, and if some are drawing the line that if we can't get through the railroad, we do nothing, that's our other choice, but, right now, everything costs too much, but I think we've got respectable bids. So it's your guys' choice to,
Mr. Chair,
go ahead, Nathan.
I didn't want to interrupt you,
You're
but
fine.
I guess I got a question for Chris, if he can address it. The assumption of us doing the repair minus the railroad, how detrimental is that to the parcel owner on the upside of the railroad? I mean, I thought we had slides that showed some of that previously, or maybe Lisa brought some of that in when she was here. Can you comment on that?
Sure, Commissioner Small. So we feel, and it's our opinion, that the repair of the open channel, including the replacement of the non-railroad culverts, it has independent utility, meaning the landowners are going to get value out of that upstream of the railroad, regardless of if the railroad crossing moves forward. In fact, it's in our opinion that actually is going to provide more benefit to the landowners upstream than even the replacement of the railroad culvert. The railroad culvert just augments that work. So it would be our recommendation that that work move forward regardless of what happens with the railroad. Regarding damage, you know, this condition has been there a long time with the railroad culvert. And so I guess I wouldn't say that inaction is necessarily a damage to the landowner, but there's an opportunity to essentially get additional benefit than restore additional capacity that hasn't been there for a long, long time.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to work my way through it. I agree with what you're saying, especially the upstream parcels. How about that parcel? Will the parcel next to the railroad experience more flooding or higher water events that would be worse than had we done nothing?
Sure. No, I'm understanding the question now. The fact that we're, sending water more efficiently down to that spot that is the, choke point at the railroad. Our opinion is that no, that's not going to negatively affect that landowner. All those landowners are still going to gain benefit out of it. It's still the same volume of the water that's going to be getting down there. It's moving forward, and there's plenty of capacity in those railroad culverts that are there now. It's just that the depth isn't there. And so when you even get a 2-year rainfall event, when it bounces up, it's going to be going through at such a rate that what we're doing with the repairs upstream is not going to negatively affect that landowner that is just upstream of the railroad.
Thank you, Chris.
Any new questions from the board?
Just have one to clarify. When Mr. Barton and Mr. Youngclass mentioned base bid and alternate number 2, what were they doing with number 1, with the side inlet repair?
Alternative 1 is for replacing a number of those incoming laterals and replacing generally the first stick of pipe in there. And I guess, that is something that we feel is going to provide additional longevity to the system. It won't necessarily provide immediate capacity by replacing those.
And my question was just on their comments. Were they including option 1 within that? Because you just said option 2, but we just want to make sure that you were kind of up to 2 basic. Okay, all right, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
I missed that. Bruce, what?
Including 1.
Okay, including option 1 and 2. And I, again, just to expedite things here, move them along here, I think for today, I think John said it best, John Kolb. For today, if we want to get started, is to decide to go ahead with the cleaning or the repair on the open channel, and then just follow through on, I'll keep working on the railroad, and that doesn't make it, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, that does not, if it can't be done in the 60 days, obviously, it's has to be rebid, but that doesn't necessarily call the project dead if there's interest in doing that. Am I correct there?
Yes, that is correct. One other thing I'll want to point out, I don't know if, I don't believe you've asked this yet, if there's a representative from either Glencoe Township or Sumter Township in the audience. It might be good to see if we can get opinions from them. Otherwise, you'll probably need to have engagement.
Sorry, that was one of the members. Bruce is one of the members of the Glencoe Township Board, and there is others here, and I didn't see them jumping out of their seats, so I thought he was doing all right. No, I'm kidding, but no, they are here. He's coming up.
After talking with Commissioner Kruger and at our board meetings and stuff, our position is that, the culvert on Imperial Avenue is not very old yet. Our position right now is going to be when the culverts fail and need to be replaced, they'll be done at that time. They'll be put to the correct levels. Then we'll go from there.
Go ahead. Come on up.
Mike Keenan. I'm a township supervisor for Glencoe Township and also a landowner, and I agree with what Bruce said. Let's put the package together, base 1 and 2. The one culvert just put in, whoever's supposed to have been at the time, relatively new, and let's put those on the back burner and see what happens on that, but go with the package of base 1 and 2.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I see a couple guys back there from Sumter Township. I don't know if anybody wants to step up and give your opinion or your thoughts on that, but I'd kind of like to hear from them as well.
I would as well. Again, it's not where I hoped. I mean, I had a little bit more hope in the railroad or getting there done, but this is up for today. This is as far as we can go, but I would like to hear from them as well to see if this is a good starting place and how they could feel about their alternatives. Good morning.
I'm Dean Zimmerman from Sumter. I'm not on the board or anything like that, but I know that culvert would be important for me to have changed because that would lower considerably, but we're way on the end of the stream there, so. But I would prefer that one was changed or fixed. They've added on both ends of it. The center isn't in the best shape, but it isn't failing yet, so.
And that one is, Chris, that one is also high, is it not?
Yes, it's quite a bit high.
So, Mr. Chair.
Mr.
if
Chair.
They just, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead, John.
Okay, so on the township or county culverts, and I hear what the township reps are saying, and I have sympathy for that position. I think where we have a culvert that maybe is a little bit too high but still has a lot of service life back in it, we have a couple choices. We either reimburse the township for whatever the remaining service life is, and we only charge for the, whatever that new service life is. But if it's not a culvert that's in a position where it is jeopardizing or impairing the utility of the system for other landowners, then those types of culverts I think can wait until they are due for replacement, and then at the time of that replacement, obviously the township would have to put them at the correct elevation or whatever the issue is. But we also do have some culverts on this system that I think are either at or beyond their service life, and they probably should be replaced. And I think that was noted here as well. And so at that point, we have a choice. The township is either going to replace that on their own to the specification necessary on a timeline necessary, or they're going to agree that we can do it as part of our project and charge it back to them. And then we have some culverts that might still be serviceable, but for whatever reason, they were placed high enough where they are impairing the utility of the ditch system for other folks. And they're going to have to be reduced in elevation. They're going to have to be put at the right location. And so I think those are the culverts we want to focus on, the ones that absolutely have to be replaced as part of this repair, or they impair the utility of the system for others. And so that's, I think, what we got to work out with the townships is which culverts are those from the engineering perspective, from our perspective, and what's their position on them. And then when we look at the cost of that replacement, I think it is fair to look at remaining service life and the rest of it. And we've been through this before, trying to resolve it with other townships. I know that your county attorney has been involved in those discussions with me, with those townships, so he understands this process of kind of identifying the remaining service life and trying to offset those costs. But we need to decide today, because we have a bid to do certain activities with unit prices and costs, and we're either going to award that contract, award part of that contract, or not award that contract. And that's what we need to decide today. So this pick and choose about which culverts, I think we have an opportunity to discuss that, but we got to come down to these ones. These are going to be replaced. Here's how it's going to work out. These are going to be left in place until their normal replacement cycle comes up, and then they'll be placed at the right elevations. But I don't think that I don't know for sure whether the engineer has gone through that level of analysis and whether we've had that discussion with the townships. So I think as to these township culverts, if we can't, we're either going to award the contract, award part of the contract, or not award the contract at all, and we need to decide which we're going to do on those culvert replacement bid packages or alternatives. So I'm throwing that out there because I think there's a lot more here on the township and the county culverts than just saying we're going to wait, not wait, because we do have contractors that have some expectation that their bids are going to be acted upon, and either a contract's awarded or not. So we have to figure that out here before we can go forward. I think the ditch work itself is a no-brainer, but now we're onto the culverts, and we probably need to address those in more detail.
Yeah, thank you, John. And I don't know if you've got the notes, Chris, that we did discuss some of these, and I know the one that Glencoe Township is talking about now is probably not going to hamper the flow. Just that one is the one I remember. That's not going to hamper the flow. So I guess, and what John had said earlier is to, prorate out the lives. That is the other alternative. But I know we also discussed that Sumter Township one. Somebody from Sumter Township Board was here and said, I think that in the main part of that culvert was supposedly more to the end of its life, but they must have added on both ends, if I remember right. So I don't know how we judge that, but John's right. We need to move on now to what, if we're going to go with the cleaning now, which alternative, or what are we fixing and what are we not?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, so I guess what I can tell you about these culverts is all of these culverts are at least, or well over a foot higher than the original channel bottom. Some of them 2 feet over the original channel bottom elevation. It would be our opinion, we wouldn't be recommending the replacement of these if they weren't providing some impairment of the drainage system. Now, how much, I don't have the detail on how much each one is specifically impairing the function, but they all are to some degree and have the potential to back water up where it might decrease capacity, say, on tile outlets upstream. We did, in our recommendation, provide a recommended deadline that giving the township a timeline of approximately 5 years to get this work completed if they chose not to complete it at this time. That would coincide with potential additional service life of these culverts as well. But I do recognize Attorney Kolb's point that if there is added value on it, and if it's slightly above the channel bottom, we certainly wouldn't want to be recommending a change at this time. I think these culverts we're talking about in general are quite a bit higher than that original channel bottom.
Have you got a list of those there?
I don't have a specific list in front of me, no.
It's a little tough.
Yeah.
I do remember having the conversation with Sumter, and the one the gentleman just talked about now. That one is sitting in a critical place, coming out of my words, a wetland area. That was pretty critical to get done. On what township road was that on, Laura? Do you know, or what township?
I don't know what the east-west road is.
Lace and 100.
Well, I feel a little flat-footed here because without getting some numbers on these alternatives, I'm not sure what to do.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I just have, I guess, something to add here. So what I'm hearing from everybody is the base bid plus alternative 1, alternative 2, and the McLeod County engineer is saying alternative 3. It sounds like we're kind of on the fence on alternative 4 and 5. Perhaps you would like to recess, do whatever action on base up to 3, and then recess the meeting. I have a couple alternate dates if you would like to work on those, and then come back maybe later in May and hit alternative 4 and 5.
That's pretty close to a recommendation that I was going to come up with as well. Let's wait for Mr. Cole. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think that's a great recommendation. I think the starting point, though, would be to maybe talk to the township folks that are in the room. If we agree to evaluate the remaining useful life on the various culverts, and we pay as a damage whatever the remaining useful life is on any given culvert, and then have it replaced, and then the remaining costs charged back to the townships, is that a more acceptable process to the townships? Because what I hear you saying is these culverts have useful life, we just assume they stay until their replacement schedule. Well, if we reimburse you for that useful life, doesn't that get you to the same place? And if that's something that's acceptable to the township, that's probably something we can turn around fairly quickly and work out. But we need some kind of indication from them on how they want to go forward. And if we're just going to get into a fight with the townships about this, then I would just leave the culverts be at this point. But I would really, I think there's some necessity, as the engineer indicates, to having the culverts replaced. And I think the reasonable solution, and we've done this in the past, is we just pay a damage if there's remaining useful life on a culvert, and we only charge the township for whatever that difference is. And so if that's something that might be acceptable, again, it's an alternative. I can't speak for the board whether it's acceptable to the board or not, but at least it gives us a starting point with the townships.
And I agree with you, Mr. Kovas. do we use an independent person to figure that out, or how do we actually prorate them? Because in
I'm
there's
not
no
sure
one
what
here
the
from,
process is.
there's no
Yeah,
one
I'm
here
not sure
from.
what the process is for township crossing ratings. I'm sure the engineer's got a process for that. County highway engineer, I'm sure, has a process for that. Townships might have their own process for that when they go out and they do their road reviews. But I think that's something that we can either do independently, or if the townships agree, we can work collaboratively with them using our own resources.
Well, I'm confident with Glencoe Township, but there is, unless I'm missing it, there's no one here from Sumter, is there?
I don't think so.
No, not, that's what I mean, off the town board.
Bruce?
Bruce?
Yeah, Doug, I'd agree with you, just having a quick word here. Alternative 4, as long as that culvert in Imperial Avenue would be prorated, we would certainly be willing to go along with replacing those culverts at that time.
Okay.
Right, I suspected, I mean, and that's a good way to just finishing everything up. I agree with that, but. And that kind of takes off the table, you know, whose culvert's better than others, but that would be fine. But again, it's hard for us to make a decision without, Mr. Cope, can we make that decision without any representatives here from the Sumter Township? Or do we actually, I'm real concerned about prorating on this timeline because they're farming. Or I mean prolonging or recessing is what I'm getting at. I don't know what a good date will be that we won't end up in the same place.
Well, here's I think what's important, Mr. Chair. What's important is that I know we don't have Sumter Township, so we should at least have a conversation with them about this process, because before we go forward at all, the statute requires us to notify them, to say, hey, this repair is coming, this culvert needs to be replaced, here are the specifications and the timeline. Are you going to do it? And here's the terms, you know, we're going to reimburse you for remaining useful life or service life. Are you going to do it along this timeline, Township, or do you want us to do it as part of our contract and charge it back to them? We have to give them that notice by letter and give them the opportunity to respond, or we could do that in a meeting and just have them review the letter at the meeting and sign off at the meeting. But so I think you're going to have to recess for further consideration of alternatives 4 and 5. And then we're going to have to set up a meeting with the townships and say, here's how we propose to go forward. Is this acceptable to you? Because if we just send them the letter without having some agreement in place or an understanding in place in advance, and they say no, you know, now we're in a situation where we've let a contract, we've got a contractor standing by and ordering materials, and we got nothing for them to do because the township's refusing. So we've got to work through this process. So I think as to alternatives 4 and 5, I think recessing and bringing it back after we've had a chance to coordinate with the townships is probably your best bet. And then we have to be cognizant of the timeline that these bids will remain open.
Okay, not hearing anything else from the landowners here, we're gonna take a 5-minute break and try to coordinate a call with Sumter Township board members, 1 or 2. And then I mean, if we're gonna move forward, my recommendation then would move forward with the alternatives you choose. I mean, it would be, in my opinion, this, if we're gonna prorate these culverts out, it kind of takes that argument off the table, I think, from what I had heard earlier, and then just move forward with that, but without checking. Commissioner Wright's gonna make a couple calls to some Sumter Town Board, and we'll go from that. So we're recessed for 5 minutes. Glencoe Township side has set the template for this. Is that favorable?
Yeah, it is,
Okay, thanks. Yeah, so let's, Chris, do you want to jot it down as we go along on what alternatives, or if we go, are we going to go right straight across the board? Is that what we're looking at on the alternatives? Not just skip the boring altogether for now?
I apologize, but any comments made, responses, they need to be at the microphone or they're not formally on the record for us to.
Well, not only on the record, but John, or Attorney Cope cannot hear as well.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, what are you needing from me?
Just you were being able to hear. We have talked to Sumter Township, and they, or at least their representatives from Sumter Township, and they're, it's acceptable to go ahead and try to go forward with the right alternatives by doing the prorating of the culverts and just do them all. All that are
Okay,
necessary to do, I should say.
Okay, so I think then you could probably move forward today with awarding the base bid, alternative 1, 2, 3, to Rickard Excavating as the apparent low bidder. You can conditionally award alternatives 4 and 5, subject to final coordination with Glenwood and Sumter Townships on culvert placement, grading, and costs. And so I think you could do that today, and then we can independently have the conversations with the two townships. And if we get all that worked out and they sign off on our agreement for the crossing replacements and the cost allocations for those culvert replacements, then the notice of award can go to Rickard without delay on alternatives 3 or 4. So basically, we would award base bid, alternative 1, 2, and 3 to Rickard and provide them with a notice of award right away on those items. And we would delay issuing the notice of award on alternatives 4 and 5 until we got final coordination completed with the two townships.
And just so I'm clear, what is that delay for 4 and 5 and coordination with the, is that just a basic sign off on what our alternatives are, or the 4 and 5 are?
The coordination with Sumter Township and Glencoe Township, I'm sorry, is to make sure that they are in full agreement and understanding that we have it in writing, how we're going to go about replacing the culverts under alternatives 4 and 5, how we're going to go about allocating the cost of that as part of repair to the townships under alternative 4 and 5, and how we're going to award the damages for the remaining useful life in those culverts. We also have to give them the opportunity to say, we will do it on your timeline, but my guess is that they're probably going to ask us to do it internally. So again, this just gives us the time without finally awarding the contract to Rickard, because once we do that, it starts a timeline. So we're going to hold off on the actual notice of award, but we are going to authorize an award of those contracts to Rickard if we can get through this process with the townships. That prevents us from having to get back together as the drainage authority to award those contracts. You're basically conditionally awarding those with withholding then the notice of award on those two alternatives until we get our issues worked out with the townships.
Okay, that answers, I mean, that's what my biggest concern was, trying to figure out a date to get back together. Do we what kind of a timeline are we wanting to put on getting this settled with the Glencoe and Sumter Townships? Do you have a recommendation on how many days?
I think we want to get that done within 30 days, and the reason for that is that these bids are only required to be held for 60 from their date of submission, and we're probably already, 10 days into that? Chris could probably tell us what that date is. And so we need to move forward with good diligence with the townships to get this worked out.
Yeah, regarding the date, we'd be able to hold on to them until June 29th, but I agree that you probably want to aim for sooner than that, just to make sure that we're not, getting basically up against the wall.
Township members, Glencoe, 30 days should be sufficient for all this, everything that we need to do?
Well, they should be able to bring it up at their next
Township,
meeting,
yep.
make an agreement as a formal board,
Right.
then bring it back here to ratify our side of it, and we should be good. So when's your next township board meeting?
Second Thursday of the month.
next week, so, yeah, so we should be good.
So we will need to get some paperwork though for you to sign.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anybody, before we move on, landowners, is there anything else that I'm, or we are forgetting? Seeing none, the board's wishes, or someone willing to try to get through this motion?
Unless
Basically, what I'm hearing from John, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, will be tentatively accepting the base bid from Rickard and 1, 2, and 3. And then we'll tentatively be awarding 4 and 5, but we need to get the townships to formally sign off within the next 30 days.
Is that your motion, Mr. Chair?
I'll make that motion,
All right,
sure.
I'll second that then.
Kruger made the motion, Wright seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So now I'll accept the motion to close the public meeting on CD 12.
So move.
Motion made by Commissioner Dahl. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wright. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Again, I'm not as happy as I wanted to be on this railroad business, but I will assure you, I'm gonna try to cement an answer to it. That's all I can do. I'll keep working with them on my own, and not to make a decision, but to see what they will give us for a permit insurance request, and then bring it back to you and to either a meeting or some type of notification to see how we move forward or not. Thank you all for coming. Back to our McLeod County Board meeting. Yeah. Joe, I know it's you, but I can't find you on building maintenance, Joe.
I'm sorry, everyone, but just to note, any conversations will need to leave the room so that we can continue with the meeting, please. Sorry, but any conversations will need to go in the hallway or outside so we can
Janet
continue
and-
our
and,
meeting, please.
Connie, can we get something read, or were you in talk with Chris, or what help do you need writing up something to get to the townships? Yeah, we need to take the conversations out in the hallway now if we can, so we can do it doesn't sound like much, but it's like mumble up here. That's all we can't hear, so. No,
All right.
go ahead, Joe.
One item for your consideration today, item A, consider approving a proposal from Safe Basement Systems of Litchfield, Minnesota, to waterproof a portion of the basement of the courthouse, the McLeod County Courthouse, on the east wall at a cost of $8,563.99 with funds from the Courthouse Building Funds 01111. We've have water leaking into this portion. Ultimately, I think it has occurred for a very long time. The studs on the wall were completely rotted out, and it's seemingly gotten worse. There's been a few attempts to come up with solutions, and we feel this is really our best bet to ultimately keep the water from protruding into the building there.
Question, Joe, is that water, that's from the entrance doors there to the government, or to the courthouse? Did that get worse when that downspout was put there? Is that part of the problem?
I can comment to that, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
He wasn't here when we had to do that project. That was resolved. That downspout from the water was built into the ground. It used to freeze up a lot. We've had heat tape put in. This is a different,
So this These
No,
are
that
not tied
drainage goes
together.
down. This is the drainage coming from the grading
All right.
from the east side of the courthouse, right, Joe? There's
Or where the
it's-
tree's been taken away and all.
Yeah, and we have had it repaired, but it continues to come in when there's heavy rain, and you know that the water table is very high in that area of Glencoe, which Joe has done research on and worked on too.
And with the restrictions of where the water goes, how are we getting rid of the water? I mean, that's all been looked into on.
Yeah, so the French drain will tie into that drain that was added
All
a few
right.
years ago.
And it'll be lifted out to that drain?
That'll flow right down over into that, right when you walk in, there's that
Yep.
catch basin there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Board's wishes?
What has to be done? I'll move to approve.
Motion
Second.
made by Commissioner Wright to approve. And
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Dahl. Discussion? I'm satisfied with how it was explained. Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Environmental Services, Mark, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome, Commissioner Dahl. Got 5 items for your consideration this morning. Item A is to consider replacing the Mettler-Toledo scale terminal, connecting the exterior truck scale to the scale database software at a cost of $5,944 with funds from the Solid Waste Fund 05-391. The existing terminal has been in operation since the completion of the material recovery facility retrofit in 2015 and has been discontinued. So if any parts are needed for this repair, they will not be available. The cost includes $3,831 for the equipment upgrade, $2,113 for installation and calibration. Capital expense is covered by the Solid Waste Abatement Fund and will not impact the department budget for 2026. This equipment upgrade has been approved by the MRF committee. So that is an essential part of our operation, obviously, for the MRF. So we were informed of that approximately a month ago, that it was discontinued. So it is in front of you today, and hopefully we can get this upgraded as soon as possible.
Mr. Wright, you want to comment on
Yeah,
the MRF
just-
committee part of this?
Sure, just that the scale is, I mean, a very intricate part of operations on a daily basis, not only just tonnage going in and out, but because we do have, tip fees and so forth, our invoices are based off of those readings, and so that scale has to be perfect. And so replacing this is just a part of continuing to do the great services that we offer there that are not only an impact on McLeod County, but several counties around us that bring material there, so.
It is the heartbeat of what we do there, so.
Move to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Cheska. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item B is to consider approving a request from the Winston Lake Association to distribute up to $7,863.48 of the McLeod County Aquatic Invasive Species Funds for treatment of curly leaf pondweed with funds from the EIS budget 25-694. The total project cost of treatment is $8,737.20. Winston Lake Association, Watershed Association will provide a 10% match, which is a requirement of the grant application of $873.72. The authorized agent is Aquatic Solutions of Minnesota out of Little Falls, Minnesota. The Minnesota Department of Natural Resources surveyed Winston Lake on April 21st, 2026 and identified 26.18 acres for treatment of Flumigard SC. Funds will be distributed at the time of receipts provided to McLeod County. This project is for the prevention and treatment of AIS into new water bodies and treating existing AIS. There is a map in the packet showing the breakdown and cost for each treatment area within the lake.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I'll move request and save my comments after a second.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls to approve. Is there a second? I'll second it.
Mr. Chair?
Discussion, go ahead, Commissioner Smalls.
Yeah, happy to be partnering with the Winston Lake Watershed Association. This is not the first time. I think we were here last year for some treatments as well. So again, DNR's involvement in identifying the areas and the treatments, I think, makes me feel pretty comfortable with the request as presented. That's my comment, Mr. Chair.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C is to consider approving sketch plan 26-03 as requested by Patrick Feltman for a one-lot sketch plan for a building site in the east half, the southeast quarter, section 15, Bergen Township. This quarter section currently has 3 non-farm dwellings, thus requiring this request. Transportation is off of Bergen Road. This existing 20-acre wooded site is located as stated in the southeast quarter, west of County Road 9 in section 15, Bergen Township, and abuts tillable acreage to the north and rural residential on the other 3 sides. The McLeod County Soil Survey indicates that the soils present should be able to sustain a site and an alternate site for a standard septic system drain field. The Bergen Township Board recommended approval on April 8th, 2026. The McLeod County Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval on April 22nd, 2026. Pat is present today. I do appreciate his patience waiting for this, so thank you, Pat.
Mr. Chair?
Questions? Go ahead.
I'll move request.
Motion made by Commissioner Smalls to approve request. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dahl. Any more discussion or any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Yeah, Patrick is present today, and I appreciate his presence here and sitting through the previous proceedings. I don't see any issues with this request. Is this just, this is a first step in the process, Mark? Can you explain that to the board
correct.
and the public?
Yeah, McLeod County's plating process includes 3 stages: sketch plan, preliminary plat, final plat. There is no public hearing required at the sketch plan. This is the concept idea. And working with Mr. Feltman, he has identified a couple different areas within this 20 acres. Obviously, a 20-acre lot is a large platted lot, but there are a couple high spots within this 20 acres that is wooded that would be nice building sites.
Thank you, Mark.
Any more questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item D is considering sketch plan 26-04 as requested by Travis Trotman for 3 additional building sites. This 30-acre property is zoned agricultural, located in the southwest quarter, section 25, Glencoe Township. This quarter section currently has 1 non-farm dwelling, thus requiring this request. The McLeod County Soil Survey indicates the soil should be able to sustain a site and alternate site for a standard septic system drain field and buildable for each of the 3 lots. The Glencoe Township Board recommended approval on April 9th, 2026. The McLeod County Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval on April 22nd, 2026. Travis is present today. Travis has also, since the Planning Commission meeting, had a septic contractor out there to do soil borings on all 3 of the lots, and the soil borings came back that all 3 can sustain a site, an alternate site for a standard system.
Okay, again, I'll also thank Patrick and Travis for putting up with our long morning here, but that's the way it goes. This is in my backyard, and I have no problem with it. I wish them the best of luck getting, I know the land, I'm not going to get too far out in the weeds with it, but I have no problem with it, and I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made by Kruger and seconded by Chatska to approve sketch plan 26-04. Any discussion? Any more questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And item E is to consider approving conditional use permit 26-07 as requested by Troy Vries of Schaefer Contracting out of Schaefer, Minnesota for a gravel mining permit. This is for a portable concrete batch plant in an existing gravel pit on property owned by Josh Kosek for the County Road 18 project this summer. The primary haul route will be from the pit area to 130th Street, then west to State Highway 15. The lot size of this request is 4.5 acres. That part of the northwest quarter, the northeast quarter of Section 6, Sumter Township. The Sumter Township Board recommended approval on April 14th, 2026. The McLeod County Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval on April 22nd, 2026 with the following conditions. Number one, hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday shall be permitted as needed with a 24-hour notice to the McLeod County Environmental Services Office. Saturday hours would be 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. Number two, the applicant shall meet all state national pollution discharge elimination system requirements and apply for a Department of Natural Resources dewatering permit if needed. Number three, stockpiles shall not exceed 35 feet in height. Number four, the McLeod County Environmental Services shall inspect all restoration work completed and approved with a letter acknowledging completion to release the bond or letter of credit back to the applicant. The applicant shall follow all mining standards contained in Section 16 of the McLeod County zoning ordinance, if not further restricted by this permit. Troy is present today. This request is for the McLeod County 18 project. The duration, again, I'll get this wrong, but he said approximately 3 weeks from the time that they get set up to the time that they tear down. And the only thing that would derail that would be if we end up with quite a bit of rain.
Wishes of the board, questions?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Question before we go any farther with this. I'm not familiar with the haul route, or at least the ability for the pit to get to a hard surface road. Are we talking about a township road before we get to a hard surface road? What are we really talking about here for haul routes and maintenance of haul routes?
Yep, the pit area is to 130th, which is a county road. County Road 70, thank you, Andrew. And then approximately, I would say, maybe half a mile, quarter mile to half a mile out to Highway 15. So that is one of the reasons we didn't require a specific amount for a road bond, because it is a county road. Contractor, in talking with Troy, they would work with, obviously, the county and then the highway department if there were issues in regards to the road.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Wright?
The request checks all the boxes, and we'll have a hard time getting our road project done if we don't have this as a site, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion made by Commissioner Wright to approve. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Health and Human Services, Barrett, good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Morning. I have one item for you today, being the first one was tabled. So just want to provide a brief update. I had sent a memo to all the commissioners on April 23rd of this year regarding some state and federal changes that were happening and that would have potential impacts to our county. Commissioner Wright suggested that we put it on the board today just to have a little discussion and just also to make the public aware of what's going on. So first, I'm here to provide a brief update on some recent federal and state actions impacting health and human services, specifically related to Medicaid. In Minnesota, we call it medical assistance. It's essentially the same thing. So you'll hear those two names intertwined. Medicaid funding and potential local impacts. So recent federal and state actions are creating uncertainty in Medicaid funding that could impact Minnesota's healthcare system, including providers at the local level. At this time, Minnesota is facing up to $3.1 billion annually at risk in Medicaid funding. The federal government is currently deferring $260 million per quarter and withholding up to $2 million annually. To put that in perspective, $206 million is equivalent to providing health coverage for approximately 35,000 children for a full year, or covering all pharmacy services for children under 18. This is not an immediate cut, but the delay and withholding of funds creates significant financial uncertainty. So in the memo that I did send, there were a couple of infographics that I just want to talk about briefly. So in McLeod County, the total number of Medicaid enrollees is 7,053 people. or 17.9% of our county's population are enrolled in Medicaid or medical assistance. That means that Medicaid payments to providers that came to McLeod County in 2024 were $67,072,165. Just to put that in perspective. Medicaid is a critical funding source that supports hospitals, mental health providers, nursing homes, and community clinics. If funding disruptions continue, this could lead to increased uncompensated care, financial strain on providers, and potentially service reductions or closures over time. At this time, there are no immediate service disruptions. However, if funding delays persist, we could see increased pressure on local providers, potential cost shifts, to counties and taxpayers, and reduced access to care over time. So Minnesota has taken steps to address these concerns. The state's corrective action plan was approved by the Center for Medicaid Services in March, and early milestones had already been met to the approval. The key component of this effort is the Minnesota Revalidate Initiative, which you may have heard of, which is reviewing more than 5,500 providers in 13 high-risk areas by May 31st. The state is also appealing the funding delays and continues to submit the required documents. Let's see here. So in summary, there are no immediate disruptions to services, but significant financial uncertainty remains. Minnesota is in compliance, actively responding, and challenging federal actions while continuing to monitor the situation. I'll continue to keep the board updated and informed when information becomes available, and I'm happy to attempt to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions from the board?
Just wanted to mention when Barrett had sent the email out of this issue a while back, I'd asked her to present this to the board just because it's an example where potential disruption in services to our constituents is not on the county. It is a conflict between the state and federal government. You can pick your sides between those as anyone chooses. However, that conflict then resonates into a potential service disruption here. And with where these funds go to was very important. And so the only reason that I thought it was important to bring that up is just because of, again, it's our constituents, but it's not necessarily anything that we can really handle here. So,
thank you, Commissioner.
Any questions? Any more questions or comments, Tom?
Just one thought. I agree with Paul 100%. You know, it's not McLeod County doing this. But has anybody ever seen the corrective action plan?
I have not, but I'm sure that I could probably get a copy of it.
It would be interesting to me because as I was reading through it, I go, well, corrective action plan, and we've hit 2 milestones, and I go, okay, so is there only 3 items on the corrective action plan and you've done 2? Well, that sounds good. But what if there's 100 and you've only done 2? Then it doesn't sound so good.
I can certainly see what I can find out.
It'd be interesting, yeah. Thank you.
I watch this pretty closely, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds here because it's not, I don't know what the county can do about it, but the person that wrote the corrective action plan is now head of Hale Health and Human Services here in Minnesota, and I see she's being pulled out right now, too.
She
I mean,
is,
I mean, I understand what we're up against, and I don't know what to say. It's self-inflicted by the state of Minnesota, and there's some requests. Whether they're reasonable or not is not up to me, but asked for by the federal government, and they were only partially given. So this continues. I wrote it down at home. I didn't bring it along how much is being held back. In fact, I just think they added some more to be held back.
Yeah,
And
$3.1 billion.
The fraud is so the TVs are running. I'm surprised that the mainstream media is running some of it. I mean, they ran, Channel 9 ran, how many $1 million went into the daycare? It's just so too colluded for me to comment on, but I mean, it's well taken, and I'm more interested to find out when and if it comes down to the county having to have to start putting in and how it's put in. I mean, Minnesota's got I don't expect anything done before election time, but unfortunately.
Mr. Chair, 2 comments to that. So the issue right now is that that funding is being withheld, potentially could be withheld to our providers. So that's our hospitals, our clinics. So then they don't get paid. They're in our community. They provide jobs for our citizens. I mean, it's the circle of life. And then to your point, Mr. Chair, late yesterday we received word that former DHS Commissioner Shireen Gandhi was replaced by now he was a deputy commissioner, but now he's the temporary deputy commissioner, John Connolly, who we have a very good relationship. So I am hopeful. Shireen Gandhi will still be the deputy commissioner, but he has taken over as the temporary commissioner of Department of Human Services as of yesterday afternoon.
Mr. Chair, we did receive quite a detailed update this morning at 9:21 from the Association of Minnesota Counties regarding a lot of the legislative action and things that happened yesterday, I believe.
I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, you wouldn't have because you were in here. So I just had another county administrator ask me about it, so I'm just noting that we'll probably have more updates for you that are more detailed at the next meeting, or things to send out to you that you might get questions about from the public in between now and our next meeting.
And I think everyone has seen Hennepin County is ready to shut their doors. And that's basically because there's too many people in the wagon and nobody pulling the wagon. It's that simple, and you can't keep giving health care and not getting paid. And again, I know everybody doesn't want to say it, but as long as we keep providing this much care to undocumented people, we're going to have this problem. And I don't see it changing until election time. So it's just simple math. I don't have anything against one or the other, but you do the math, it doesn't compute. Go ahead, Commissioner
Mr. Chair.
Smalls.
Yeah, Barrett, thanks for bringing the data forward for us. There's some alarming information there. If you haven't thought about, what we say, 7,200 people on MA in McLeod County, that's alarming. I've said it before. I said it at the legislative forum we had. The cost shifts that could potentially affect us are very serious. And I don't know the pathway forward. So hopefully our state and federal government can come up with some solutions that are palatable to us here in McLeod County. Thank you.
Another add-on, I had a Legion meeting last night. There's benefits being cut there as well. And so, it's an issue. It's not a taxing problem, it's a spending problem. Barrett, did you want to comment at all on item A? It's just, there's nothing wrong with it. It just takes a little bit more time for review.
Yes, there were some questions. County Attorney Hench wanted to review a little bit. We respect that, appreciate him being able to do that. I don't think that it's a too pressing of an issue, and so we want to just make sure that we did it right.
Right, and I looked at it earlier too, and it's hard to, as a board member, to come in and vote on something you just only seen for even a couple of days.
Yeah,
It's just the where-ifs and the how-ars and all that are in the right places.
That committee is active, and Commissioner Schmalz is on the LAC. We just haven't had bylaws in place. So it's really a technicality, but we want to make sure that we do it right. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, a follow-up to the item that we pulled from the agenda is we want to make sure things are right. It wasn't the fact that it's a bad document. It's just a document needs a little more review. I've been in discussions with county attorney about it, and I think we did the right thing by just pulling it from today's agenda, but we'll get to it here shortly after that review is done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Employee relations, Hannah.
Hi, good morning. I have a couple items for you today. The first item, I'm going to right away, we're going to make an edit to this item. Instead of right now, it says we're asking to hire a part-time temporary position. I'm going to update this and ask the board to consider approving a request reviewed by the Personnel Committee to hire one full-time temporary property assessment specialist in the assessor's office through May 31st, 2027. This request will have no budget impact to the department due to staffing vacancy. I'm not usually one to make a last-minute decision, but I will just say this is the needs of the department at this time.
I'm on the Personnel Committee, and I reviewed this, and I'm aware of it. You explained it the way it is. I think we've got some other things we're looking at as we go along, but this is probably the best thing for now, so as wishes of the board.
I will also just offer, we do have our county assessor in the room today. I would say there's not a lot to comment on in this moment, but the reason we would bring something like this is due to some significant staffing changes, some of them temporary. So that is today why we're looking at a temporary placement to support the team, particularly with our front-facing office support while our assessors are out in the field. Appraisers, excuse me,
Any more
appraisers.
questions from the board? I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Dahl. Any more discussion or questions? Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, as you stated, that you and I do sit on the Personnel Committee, and the objective that we discussed was maintaining services in McLeod County in the assessor's office. So, and how important that is to us and to McLeod County. And that's why, we can support the request as presented. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. Item B is consider approving the collective bargaining agreement, or CBA, with the McLeod County Unit of Minnesota Nurses Association, or MNA, for the period of January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2027.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I will move collective bargaining agreement with the MNA.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmalz to accept or to approve. Is there a second? I'll second it. Discussion? And I second it because I am on personnel as well and kind of know what's going on, but we're open to question.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
I'll comment a little bit. I mean, this is something that we've been worked on for quite a few months with the Union Negotiations Committee, which you were also serving on, Mr. Chair, and along with myself. So happy to see the agreement in place. Thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. County administration, we're going to start with our calendars. Since the last meeting, at the last meeting, we had Student Government Day, so we spent the afternoon or after the meeting and over noon with the students. I thought it was well attended. There was excitement among the students that I talked to, and I don't know if it's my imagination or not, but those kids come up with, shouldn't call them kids, excuse me, but they can call me grandpa, so it don't matter. No, they're more inquisitive, and I'm kind of encouraged by some of their questions. So that was a very beneficial afternoon. On the 22nd, I had HRA board meeting. Again, pretty much a boilerplate, trying to make sure our buildings stay in repair, and we're not having any trouble keeping them full, but obviously trying to keep our rents feasible and yet keep above board. Personnel committee that afternoon by Zoom. On the 22nd and 23rd, no, on the 23rd and the 27th, I worked on the CD12. I worked with Houston on the 23rd, and I went on the 27th to see TCW on the railroad, trying to find some resolution to our ditching problem there. On the 30th, I worked with our administration on agenda review, and that brings us to today.
Okay, over the past couple weeks, my calendar's been a little bit lighter with scheduled meetings, but that hasn't stopped some of the phone calls on the upcoming road projects, that's for sure, in my district. Did participate in a meeting at our fairgrounds with one of our larger venues, worked on some contract things, and we'll be seeing that in the upcoming weeks. However, the open house for County Road 18, which that construction project will start on May 18th, will be tomorrow night from 5 to 7 at the McLeod County Fairgrounds. So people that live in that corridor and have been using that road, and it's a major artery from Renville County residents that are coming into, especially the Hutchinson area, that'll kind of be a little bit of a dent in the traffic pattern for a while, but only short-lived, 3 to 4 week construction window. Andrew produced something like that. A little more. So, hopefully the weather. Hopefully the weather cooperates and they can finish that one in good time. The next big one that will definitely be impacting thousands of cars and trucks every day will be when 212 and 15 begins, and the open house for that will also be this week from 4 to 6 at the Broughton Community Center. So there will be a lot of displaced traffic upcoming from that one. The last time we met was during the Minnesota State FFA Convention, and I did mention that I would bring results of our 2 primary chapters that are from McLeod County. McLeod County Board of Commissioners has always been very supportive of those youth organizations like 4-H and FFA, and so I'll bring those results forward. And there's a lot of placings. I'll kind of skip that part because it's a lot of numbers, but I think the important part is the number of teams that attended. When you get to participate at state, you had to go through regional contests first in order to get there. No difference in sports playoffs. And so with the Hutch FFA chapter, the last year they did have a state officer, so that individual had a chance to give her retiring address. Teams that participated were companion animal, dairy evaluation, horse evaluation, livestock evaluation, nursery landscape, poultry evaluation, and soils evaluation, as well as Hutchinson FFA chapter recognized as a state superior chapter. Then there's the Glencoe Silver Lake chapter, which we hear a lot from, and last year nationally they were the top chapter in the nation. They sent teams to compete at state in ag sales, agronomy, best informed green hand, companion animal, fish and wildlife. Oh my goodness, the list. Dairy judging, farm business management, floriculture and milk quality, fish and wildlife, and vet science. They also had an individual that placed very high in the Minnesota FFA Star Production Placement, as well as 2 individuals that competed to become a state officer, and one will go forward to becoming the new state secretary. Anna Seifert, I believe the last name is, will become a new state officer. The state proficiency awards were given out to individuals in agricultural services, diversified horticulture, food service, forest management and products, landscape installation, and swine production. There were 12 state FFA degrees given out to GSL members. Let me see, where else is my list? There were 3 individuals that participated in the FFA state band and 1 that participated in the FFA state chorus. So individuals from McLeod County do very well. And these chapters, it's not just about having successful advisors, that's a lot of it, but also a lot of community members that continue to volunteer to make these organizations great. So I think there's a lot of kids that did very well there. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner. Tom, do you want to comment on election and new day, or are you good?
Learned a lot about ditches on day 1. So.
Yeah. I don't know anything about water. Absolutely, yeah. I don't know anything about the county ditches, but it was interesting to see the timeline. That's what really surprised me most of all, was the timeline itself. Most of the stuff that we deal with at the township is pretty short and sweet, even though they get, they want their way. the election itself, I was very proud of the people that were standing up behind me and pushing me to become a commissioner. Very impressive people, and very nice. And of course, you see, my main support people were here, so that was nice to see too. Wrapped up last night with township, over 12 and a half years, something like that. You know, highlighting things such as the culvert that's going bad under the road on that county road ditch, covering that for them. There's a high line coming through that's going to feed into Hutchinson and stuff, so they were fully aware of that. And just generally assisting them with what to do next, because we got all the gravel roads this year and all the dust coating. So thank you very much for making me a commissioner, because I got to hand that off. But thanks to the board. You've been so kind and appreciative too of welcoming me, and the staff also. It's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dahl, and congratulations on your election and to serve on the McLeod County Board. Since our last board meeting, as mentioned, Student Government Day, I think we did not hold the workshop so that we could get up to the courthouse to help out with Student Government Day. Thanks to Stefan and administration and everyone who helped, make that a successful event for the students who attended. And then on the 22nd, on a Wednesday, I had a CHB workshop. Workshop was held in Hutchinson, Minnesota. We're looking at, it's an assessment that we're doing on how our organization operates and the responsibilities, how each county is asked to do with our CHB delegation agreements. So it's basically a deep dive review into our delegation agreements for Meeker, McLeod, Sibley, CHB. And then same afternoon, we had a personnel committee Zoom meeting that Doug and I attended through Zoom. Thursday, I had a UCAP Joint Powers Board meeting held in Redwood Falls that evening. I won't report specifically on the meeting itself. It was pretty much business as usual at our UCAP Joint Powers Board meeting. On Friday the 24th, the Southwest Transportation Alliance hosted a meeting which was in Cologne, but they also offered a Zoom option for us to be part of that meeting, to hear the reports that are happening on Highway 212 in Carver County, Highway 5 in Carver County. I was happy that Andrew was able to also, be on that Zoom meeting along with me. And one of the new things that now are starting to be talked about is a Highway 7 coalition. And although most of the focus is on the eastern end of Highway 7 in the metro, I made sure the group was aware that Highway 7 is a main artery coming into McLeod County. It serves the city of Hutchinson very well, Hutchinson being a population of almost, I think, somewhere near 15,000 people. So I made sure that they were aware that I thought, in my opinion, we are interested in being at the table as that coalition can come together, looking at Highway 7. They did mention some of the potential construction going on Rolling Acres Road, which is Highway 7 and Rolling Acres Road coming up in the future. I don't think they have a construction date on that, but it's a very busy intersection if you use Highway 7, and they're looking forward to improving that intersection as we move forward in time. And then yesterday, Monday, I was here at the Government Center. We had a union negotiations committee, a mediation that we were working our way through. And also the MRC legislative update was happening at the same time. Luckily, I could view that by Zoom, but my attention was focused on what was happening here with union negotiations. And then this morning, I did take a call driving into the government center about some right-of-way issues and some drainage issues. I think mostly, happening in the frontage of a Winsted Township resident, but I'm helping that resident navigate the system and pointing him in the right directions if he needs to talk to somebody in the county with some of the happenings going on out there. Brings us to this morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
First of all, I'd like to thank Commissioner Dahl for his time put in, and I'm going to pass the torch of the newbie title to you now. So I appreciate that. After the last meeting, we had the young adults here, and I really enjoyed that. Their enthusiasm for the different things that they saw that day. I was outside with them at the government center on some stuff, and then we went into the jail, and they did have a lot of good questions and comments, and so that was kind of fun to see their take on things. And then I sat with the Hutch group for lunch and kind of got to talk with them and like, why did you come? And the one girl said, well, I saw I was gone till 1:30 and I only have class till 2 and I got a free lunch. So she was super excited about that. But no, that was fun. I was not able to attend that last year, so that was nice to have. And then fortunately, I was able to get away after that last meeting, and so I had no other committee assignments or anything until I got back. So that's the end of my report.
Thank you. I also took part in the Student Government Day over at the courthouse portion and attended lunch with the students. And I agree. I mean, it was a day that was well put together. You never know what the questions are you're going to receive from the students, but it's fun to field them. And I think it is a great opportunity to make local government accessible to those students, and it hopefully encourages them to participate in the future. So for those that put that on, I think it was a job well done. Last week was a busy week for our office. We went live with our new case management software last year. You approved a request a budget request regarding moving to a prosecutor by carpel product. So our case management software is everything. I mean, everything in our office flows through that software program. Our civil files, our criminal files, children in need of protection and service, you name it. So it's a big undertaking. It happens in the background. The public obviously, isn't aware of that. But from last year until last week was that's how long the process takes to convert the data from our old system to our new, to get trained on it, so on and so forth. So we're excited to finally be live on that system. I appreciate the board's support in us moving to that system. It is automating some things. It does interface better with some of our other programs and some of the other outside agencies that we do work for. So I think it'll create some efficiencies, and we're always looking to do that. So just an update on that. And then this afternoon, I will be, after the meeting or workshop here, I will be heading to St. Cloud to present there's a Minnesota chapter of the International Association of Arson Investigators, and today is the Prosecutors Summit Day, so there'll be a room full of prosecutors learning about arson prosecution. So I'm joining up with a senior special agent, or a special agent in charge from the BCA, who I had an occasion to prosecute an arson that resulted in a homicide several years ago with. So we're looking forward to sharing our experiences with a group full of prosecutors and some investigators, so hopefully that will be helpful. So thank you.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to add, kind of piggyback on Student Government Day. I wanted to say a thank you to Judges Maher and Winter for addressing the kids and those of us in attendance in the courtroom. They spent a full half hour of their busy day taking questions and explaining their positions, their backgrounds, and then they also stayed for the lunch afterwards to address any concerns the kids may have brought to them. So I do appreciate the judges and the work they do here in McLeod County.
Thank you, Commissioner Schmalz. Administration, Sheila?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. just to wrap that up, a huge thank you to Stefan Wiblemo. He coordinates every second of Student Government Day, and it's a lot of work because telling, a lot of 15 to 18-year-olds what to do and where to be, and somehow they do work with you well, and thank you for everything you did. And he coordinates all that time with the judges, the staff, the elected officials, all of you, and makes it work. So thank you very much. Good job. County administration. Connie, would you like me to read the item? Okay, thank you. Item A, a reminder to the public to keep all signs out of highway rights-of-way, including signs for garage sales, open houses, political campaigns, and others. Highway rights-of-way include driving lanes, shoulders, ditches, clear zones, and sight corners at intersections. Placing signs in the right-of-way is a misdemeanor that carries a maximum $1,000 fine and/or 90 days in jail, and the signs may be removed. I will just tell you a little very short story about why this is important too, and I didn't add this to the agenda, and I saw it after. I was driving, and it was citywide garage sales around Hutchinson, and I saw a 2-year-old child run to that sign, and it was in the right-of-way. And so the person driving from the other direction, they could not see the child. The child wanted to touch a pinwheel on a garage sale sign behind it. So that would just be, there's real reasons why these rules are in place. Don't block visibility in traffic. That could have, thankfully, everything turned out okay. It could have been worse, but it could have also been prevented from being in a site issue. Sorry, I just wanted to add that. And then item B, much less serious, notification of a board workshop following the board meeting on Tuesday, May 19, 2026 at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glen Cove, Minnesota. And just a note that our workshops may be a little bit longer than usual the next couple of meetings, because for Student Government Day, we try not to do a workshop, as Commissioner Schmaltz noted. That's all. Thank you. And welcome to Commissioner Tom Dahl. All of his information and contact information is on our county website. It has been sent out in a press release and to our employees and our community contacts at townships and cities. If you have a question, please let us know. Thank you.
Any other business that duly comes to the McLeod County Board? If not, open forum. Anybody wishing to address the board? State your name, and we're going to limit times to 3 minutes.
Thank you. Doyle Benson from Collins Township. So I guess I want to report that our petition that we were doing to reverse or to force you to go back to an electable auditor treasurer, we did not get enough signatures in the amount of time, the 30 days that was given to us. We appreciated all the people out there. There was a lot of people that supported, especially out of District 3, that really supported returning this back to electable. And I hope you guys, when you talk to the youth, I hope you discuss that small government is the best way to go. It gives the freedom for people to enjoy the county where you're at, and in general, big government's in the way. So I hope you guys taught that the other day, a couple weeks ago. And so, yes, we still recommend that you, commissioners, reverse this and go back to electable. We definitely want our freedoms, where our rights to vote. And we had, like I said, we had plenty of support from our area. And those of us who still have to work and you have to use volunteer time to do this stuff and not get paid for it, we tried. We tried, but we came up short. So thank you, but really think about who you represent. In District 3, there's been a lot of disappointment with roads and bridges that are not up to par. We have. And yet we continue to spend for other things that maybe are less priority. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Hey,
Commissioners. I wanted to, this is Hannah McLeod, Employee Relations Director. Something I forgot to mention earlier as we were giving some great props out to Stefan and how wonderful Student Government Day would. I also wanted to highlight, so April, as I think we all know, is National County Government Month, I believe is what it's called. And other ways that our staff really showed up to really represent counties and to highlight counties and all the great work that's happening here is there, we had staff participating in all different departments for the career days in both Glen Close Silver Lake High School and also Hutchinson High School. So there's two wonderful events that happen in these districts where they invite different entities, organizations from across the county to talk about what jobs they have available, to get some hands-on opportunities for students to think about their future. And it was, I love that young people are so cool, and it was so fun to interact with them. But I would say what's really even cooler is to watch our staff interact with students and talk about their careers, talk about what brought them to the county. Some of us have really straightforward paths, or maybe you always knew you wanted to be a law enforcement officer, or others maybe kind of stumbled there, or there's been a lot of our careers kind of shift and change. And so it's really, really powerful, and I feel like a great deal of pride in watching our staff getting to talk with students. And same with Student Government Day. For as much as it's awesome to get to talk with young people, to watch everyone from our deputies to our correctional officers to our auditor treasurer's office to our judges, everyone getting to highlight their work and what brought them there, why they're doing this work. I mean, we have staff in our dispatch office when we were down there. We had a staff member who just got on her feet, is doing her own, like she'd been there for about almost 6 months. So that week was the first time she was responding to calls on her own without a field training officer with her. But we also had someone in the room who'd been there for 26 years, and we had someone in the room who'd been there for 10 years. And just see that kind of different experience is really exciting. So I did just want to highlight that really, really cool, super cool students we got to meet with, but also our staff really shone and got to talk about how powerful county government is and the kind of influence they get to have locally. So I did just want to offer that. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to address the board? Seeing none. Press relations, any press in the room? See none. I'll be willing to accept the motion to recess until 9 a.m. on Tuesday, May 19th, 2026 at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota.
Move recess, Mr. Chair.
Motion made by Commissioner Schmalzer, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Dahl. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're recessed.